Leslie from Gallagher Canada. You're going to be sharing some information on critical insurance considerations and offerings for the new and emerging craft cannabis micro sector. Again, that is the fastest growing licensing class within the federal system. It accounted for over half of the license issued last year, which is incredible progress. And Leslie, you are right at the forefront of this. Getting some insight on the insurance side, which is often overlooked and definitely catches people by surprise in terms of cost. I know as a processor, yes, when you look at recall insurance coverage or D&O insurance for larger organizations, even for the co-op, that's quite burdensome. And so being able to really understand the complexities, look for cost-saving measures, and really implement, the most effective strategy for smaller businesses is key.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you everybody at BC Craft. Thank you for having us today. Unfortunately, my colleague Mike Naughton is under the weather with the flu and will not be able to join us. So I'll be doing his portion as well. So please bear with me. So basically, why do I need insurance? Insurance is always the last, basically it's the stepsister that everybody forgets about. And it's all of a sudden it's a big rush to get the insurance when you realize, oh my God, I need it for my licensing. I can't order cannabis unless I show them insurance, and then it's a big scramble. So I'll give you a little bit of history about who we are. Next slide. Do I have access to that?
That's on me. I'll get to it.
Okay.
I'm in full screen and it's usually spacebar.
It's down on the lower left.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. No problem. So I am part of Gallagher Canada, which is a global leader in insurance, risk management, and consulting services. We are much more than simply insurance brokers. We are an international group of partners that provide cost-effective and client-centric solutions for our clients. Next slide. So some of our cannabis expertise, our cannabis team across Canada has collectively 30 years of experience providing standard service to the cannabis industry for all verticals and business sizes. We examine your business operations to review all areas of exposure and forecast operations. Gallagher in Canada will thoroughly review your business to provide preeminent insurance program available. And in a challenging insurance market for cannabis companies, we are continuously evolving solutions to protect your balance sheet and your future. My expertise in this area is I've been in the industry for approximately 9 years, which is I see one of my old competitors online here tonight. So he was one of the 4 founding members of that team. So it's been really exciting to watch the evolution from the MMAR all the way to the licensed producers, now into the craft growers. So some of the clients that we work with are Health Canada licensed producers, the retail stores, the retail and producer applicants, extraction and processing, micro and craft producers, law firms, cannabis technology firms, security firms, clinics and patient networks, as well as professional investment management. Next slide. So really, the first thing that people typically ask is, what coverage do I need? And really what you should be thinking about is when you are looking at growing cannabis, where is the property that is going to be located? Are you located in like a rural area where maybe they have like a volunteer fire station? Or maybe you have a grow in Abbotsford where we've just had massive flooding. These are things that when you're looking to either lease or purchase property that you should be looking, because those sorts of things will affect your cost of insurance. If there is a high fire rate, if there is area that is flood, or if you're in an earthquake zone, being that we're on the West Coast, we are on a fault, so that will affect your insurance rate. So those are things that you should really look at. There's also contractual requirements. So when you are leasing a building, part of that, you'll see in your lease agreement, they'll say things like, you're going to have to carry commercial general liability, and they're going to want a certain amount of limits. So you will have to either be, typically we see leases for 5 million or 2 million. They'll ask you to carry all risk coverage. So that includes sewer backup, flood, and sewer backup and earthquake. So those are things that you need to keep in mind. Equipment breakdown, that if you've got HVAC or any pressurized equipment that is in the building, you will be responsible for covering the cost of that. We also include stock. So if you've got cannabis buds that you are storing, that would come under the heading of stock. One of the other interesting coverage is product recall. Now, this is something that is a requirement for licensed producers who are selling to the provinces, and every province requires different limits. So here in British Columbia, if you're selling to the province, they will require you to carry a $10 million limit. And product recall can be very, very expensive. These premiums start at approximately $40,000, and there's several different carriers, insurance markets that provide it, and that is the cheapest. So for my smaller grows, who are partnering with, say, like a licensed producer, and they want to take on some of their craft flower, we always recommend that maybe that in the negotiations with the contract, that they are able to, that the licensed producer who is making a lot more money than maybe somebody that is starting out, cover that product under their product recall, and that can be done through their legal team. The next area of coverage that people look at is directors and officers, and as Andrew was alluded to, is extremely expensive. And directors and officers basically covers your directors and officers and their personal assets in the event of a lawsuit. With directors and officers, there's also something called employment practices liability, which in the event that there is a wrongful termination, there's a harassment suit, this will step in to cover in the event that your employee sues you. You can get standalone, what they call EPL, which is a little less, but typically these premiums on the D&O are extremely expensive. And then the last coverage that we look at is if you're doing any consulting, that you place some errors and omission liability in place. Typically, when you're starting out, it is a bit of a shock to see what kind of premium, like what the cost is for these insurance policies. But typically, for startups, we like to try and cut back and do the bare minimum. And then as the client grows and, generates revenue, then look to add things on. But there's certain things that you can't get out of. And that is if there are leasing requirements, like I said, if you're selling to the province, there is a commercial general liability limit that you're going to have to carry, which includes products and completed operations. And that is in place in the event that somebody states that they were injured or harmed from, smoking or eating your cannabis. So those are kinds of things that you need to keep in mind. Some of the lessons learned from macros. What can you do to keep your insurance costs down? If you're growing, look at the type of lights that you are growing with. If you're using something like HPS lights, those the insurance companies are now requiring detailed reports that these are being checked upon on a regular basis. They prefer to see LED lights or other versions of that. The reason being is that there was a couple years ago a licensed producer, and their whole facility burned down and because of these HPS lights, and it created a claim in the millions and millions of dollars. So underwriters are now looking at that and saying, is this what you have? Because this could be a massive fire hazard. There's also transport risk. So if you're going to be delivering cannabis, are you using proper vehicles to deliver cannabis? If you're a retail store, are you doing deliveries? Does your insurance company know about this sort of thing? We've had companies in the retail space where they thought they had coverage, and really there is no coverage because we have to get that coverage elsewhere. So here in British Columbia, we're looking at ICBC, and you would have to declare, if people are doing deliveries on your behalf, they have to declare that on their insurance. And then of course, product liability, that is another cost of concern. This is a requirement, provincial requirements as well, that the provinces need. And like I said, they will not deliver any cannabis to you until your broker provides that certificate of insurance to you to submit on behalf of the of your facility or your grow. So we have a lot of provincial regulatory requirements, and how those provincial guidelines affect your insurance. So like I said, here in BC, we require a $5 million commercial general liability to the province, as well as a $10 million product recall. And sometimes that can be negotiated with the province depending on what you are doing. I have had clients say that are selling to Ontario. Ontario requires a $15 million product recall. And of course, the higher the limit, the more money that you're spending. So it's important to get an idea prior to starting up, and contact an insurance broker that works in this space to kind of give you some premium indications, so you can look at budgeting for what you can expect to look at, so you're not being hit with this massive bill and you're a bit shell shocked. This is something that I always tell my clients prior, to walking down that path is, what are you looking as far as your revenues are? How are you going to afford the insurance? Do you know, what the cost of insurance is and what you can look like? What is there a way that we can? Do you want to strip what we call strip down coverage? We don't necessarily recommend that, but at the same time, sometimes people are working on shoestring budgets, and everything has gone into building their grow, and all of a sudden now they're hit with insurance. So it's a good to get ahead of that and to budget ahead for that. And then we also offer transactional liability. So that's something called reps and warranties. So if in the event that a client, if like maybe a licensed producer sees, your grow and they want to acquire that, that licensed producer may want to engage in something like that to guarantee the sale of your business. And we do contract review for our clients as well. That helps them with the legal language and as far as the insurance is concerned. And that's all I have to be. That's about all I have to say. So thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them, and just maybe open up the lines.
Yeah, wonderful, Leslie. Thank you. Your contact details are here, and again, we'll make sure we get this up on social media and through our website links. It is, such an important element of operationalizing and really succeeding in the regulated environment, and having someone that can really walk you through that and provide some value add insight is extremely important, and something we really look to help cultivate here at the co-op. It is important to have, a multitude of offerings. So we definitely have that here, and really look to educate and inform our members around, making informed choices and finding who resonates with them. So it's nice to have, the insurance industry coming to the table to help support small scale industry, particularly here in British Columbia, where we're still getting it off the ground. We have less than 70 micros. We might actually have crossed the 70 mark very recently. As of last Friday, I think we maybe have 71 now. So it is good to see those numbers rising. We're up over 280 nationally. So this is going to be top of mind, tip of tongue for so many stakeholders that are now, up operational and compliant, but now have to execute in the regulated game. And a big part of that is making sure that your insurance coverage meets, what your end objectives are in terms of entry into market and partnerships and JVs and just operational and facilities management issues as well, as you mentioned, with those with the lights being a factor and other components. You look at hydrocarbon extraction. There's definitely some danger elements in the mix here in our industry that, if not monitored and structured and accounted for, can really run business into the ground if they're not careful. So and really impact the safety and health and well-being of the team members that are part of those organizations. So making sure we got the coverage to provide that kind of foundation is really important. And then again, the value add insight that you and the team at Gallagher there can provide is great. So we are grateful for this. Again, we will get this up on social media. Happy to open it up to the few members that were able to get into our session today. We did get that error link on MailChimp. Dudley and I will work that out for future events. And we often do open it up for Q&A and member issues at the end of meetings as well. Generally, kind of 7:30 to 8 o'clock is kind of open Q&A. So I'm happy to bring back the topic of insurance to one of those sessions, open it up to Linda and yourself to really kind of be our resident experts in this and really look at the opportunity to really create a community of understanding through our insurance providers and look to provide different shades of experience that relate to the realm of insurance, which is a little abstruse to some of our members and even to larger organizations as well. It's something that they got to constantly manage. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.